Hello, this LibEd talk will be a basic introduction to anthropology and why it's still relevant. So anthropology is the study of human societies and cultures and their development, usually through a comparative lens. Often confused with sociology, focus in anthropology is frequently placed on the economic and political organisation, law and conflict resolution, patterns of consumption and exchange, gender relations, religion, and socialisation. It could be argued that now, above all else, what anthropologists do is ethnography. Essentially, ethnography is to the cultural or social anthropologist what lab research is to the biologist, what archival research is to the historian, or what survey research is to the sociologist. Often called, though not altogether accurately, participant observation, ethnography is based on the apparently simple idea that, in order to understand what people are up to, it is best to observe them by interacting with them intimately and over an extended period of time. There are several notable pioneers of the study worth mentioning, though I will only be detailing three, including Richard Leakey, Margaret Mead, Franz Boas, Bronislaw Malinowski, Clifford Geertz, Claude Lévi-Strauss, and Paul Farmer, all of whom have studied anthropology and made great breakthroughs in various avenues of the study. Linking to the aforementioned importance of ethnography is anthropolinguistic pioneer Malinowski, who is notorious for living with the people he studied, getting to know them personally, participating in their activities, and conducting his research in the manner which has since become known as participant in observation. His collection of monographs and numerous articles on the Trobriand Islanders is perhaps the most extensive ethnography of any people written to date. His magnum opus, Argonauts of the Western Pacific, published in 1922, in which he describes the Kula Ring, a complex inter-island exchange of arm-shell bracelets and necklaces, is one of the first modern ethnographies. Unlike earlier monographs, which were dry catalogues of facts, Malinowski's ethnographies painted a romantic picture of native life, had an institutional focus, and provided a vivid narrative where the ethnographer is seen to interact with real people. A prolific writer, Malinowski tackled some of the most important and controversial topics of his day: economics, religion, family, sex, psychology, colonialism, and war. He insisted that a proper understanding of culture required viewing these various aspects in context. Malinowski was instrumental in transforming British social anthropology from an ethnocentric discipline concerned with historical origins and based on the writings of travellers, missionaries, and colonial administrators to one concerned with understanding the interconnections between various institutions and based on fieldwork, where the goal was to grasp the natives' point of view. This is a principle still being invoked today, as debate is held as to whether infiltrating a culture provides a better, more immersive understanding, or if the disruptive presence actually restricts how much of the cultural practices are revealed. Moving from a far more literal form of the study comes Richard Leakey's discoveries surrounding physical development. Leakey approached the field with some prior knowledge, as both his parents were anthropologists, but came at it from arguably a far more biological stance, and proposed somewhat controversial interpretations of his fossil finds. In two books written with science writer Roger Lewin, Origins in 1977 and People of the Lake in 1978, Leakey presented his view that some 3 million years ago, three hominin species coexisted: Homo habilis, Australopithecus africanus, and Australopithecus boisei. He argued that the two Australopith forms eventually died out, and that Homo habilis evolved into Homo erectus, the direct ancestor of Homo sapiens, or modern human beings. My final personal study details Margaret Mead, who approached the topic using the framework of a far more established human society. Selecting the peoples of the South Pacific as the focus of her research, Mead spent the majority of her life exploring the plasticity of human nature and the variability of social customs. In her first study, Coming of Age in Samoa, in 1928, she observed that Samoan children moved with relative ease into the adult world of sexuality and work, in contrast to the children in the United States, where lingering Victorian restraints on sexual behaviour and the increasing separation of children from the productive world made youth a needlessly difficult time. Westerners' deep-seated belief in innate femininity and masculinity served only to compound these troubles. Mead continued in Sex and Temperament in 1935, describing the wildly varying temperaments exhibited by men and women in different cultures, from the nurturing men of the Arapesh tribe to the violent women of the Mundagomor. Mead maintained that social convention, not biology, determines how people behave. She thus entered the nature-nurture debate on the side of nurture. Mead's famous theory of imprinting found that children learn by watching adult behaviour, a principle still maintaining relevance and dominating debates today. I bring to light these three in particular to reflect the wide breadth of studies available through anthropology. In recent decades, as is the very nature of the topic, anthropologists have been reflecting on the significance and relevance of anthropological research. This has included anthropologists who are working in each of anthropology's four subfields: archaeology, bioanthropology, linguistic anthropology, and social-cultural anthropology. Recently, some anthropologists have called for greater efforts to share our findings with the public in order to try and solve significant historical, social, biological, and environmental problems. Examples of these problems include the impact of climate change on the health and welfare of diverse peoples throughout the globe, and social structural reasons for nutritional problems, as well as cultural meanings people give to them, such as undernutrition and illnesses related to increasing weights of people in societies globally. Through their research, anthropologists contribute unique and important forms of knowledge and information to diverse groups, including local communities, nations, and global social movements, such as feminism, radical, indigenous, environmental, LGBT, and other social movements. I find that cultural anthropologists' research is unique particularly because it often involves analysis of the intersection of global, social, political, and economic forces and the everyday experiences of members of a cultural group. The fieldwork and participant observation research methods provide cultural anthropologists the opportunity to live with a group of people for several months or years. They learn about the complexities of people's lives intimately, including their social relationships, their bodily and emotional experiences, and the powerful institutional forces influencing their lives. Applying the results of our ethnographic research and making our research accessible to our students and the public can make the research of anthropologists useful towards alleviating the problems people face in our society and in countries globally, and that is why the study of people past can help us understand the present and decide the future, and that is why anthropology is still relevant today.